Hello and welcome to another episode of the TechRaptor Podcast. We've got a four-person pod here today. I am Andrew Stretch, Senior Content Manager.
Andrew Rotten, Editor-in-Chief.
Austin Souther, Staff Writer.
And I'm Staff Sergeant Robert Scarpinator, reporting from the front lines here on Levelon Creek.
Oh, no. I thought we liberated that.
We did.
Again, I don't want to go back.
I thought that was one of the places that the game got delisted.
I
It's
think
just
it was,
such a
yeah.
large...
We liberated it, but they can't play it anymore.
Oh, shit. We lost a great amount of soldiers.
We did.
Yeah, so obviously we are discussing the fact, well, at the time that we are recording, this is breaking news. But when this podcast goes live in a few days, there is probably going to be so many updates to this story we are looking forward to. But the huge PR kerfuffle that is Helldivers 2, it was great. Everyone loved it. It stood for freedom. And now Sony's overbearing claw has come in and is beginning to mangle it.
They've gone full communist on this one, boys.
Oh, my God.
Well, kind of the opposite, really, right?
Actually,
now no one can play it.
True.
But I was told that communism is against...
I guess we should say what the problem is
Yes.
that they're forcing people to have PSN accounts at some point, or they'll not be able to play.
Right.
it's
And
pretty bad.
so if you're already playing it on PlayStation, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
But if you're playing it on PC, on Steam, which I think is a lot, like
a
more
bit.
than half of the Helldivers community, you have to have a PSN account and link it to your Steam account. And you might be, your first knee-jerk reaction might be, oh, no big deal. It's whatever. It's just another account. I've got like 50 of those. But on May 4th, Steam delisted the game Helldivers 2 in over 170 countries because those countries don't have PSN support. So you literally can't. If you live in those countries, you literally cannot play Helldivers after they fully go live with this thing.
And what's astounding is some of these countries are pretty big. Actually, quite a few of them.
Yeah, we were looking at the list, like people like the place like Egypt and Vietnam aren't on there. A bunch of the U.S. territories aren't on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Puerto Rico, it's kind of crazy.
There's a lot of
didn't know that. So that's kind of another little secret thing of oh shit, PSN's not in this many places outside of Helldivers. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can do VPNs and stuff, but that's just a hassle you shouldn't need to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of VPN for, just accessing it or whatever. I mean, VPNs inherently come with more latency. Yeah. So in a specifically online only game, if you are forcibly adding more latency, that's never going to be optimal. But on top of that, though, everyone's already looking at the TOS for a Sony PSN, and if you set up a PSN account for the network that you're not in, that can breach TOS. That could mean an account ban, all these other things. So that could change from just not being able to play Helldivers to absolutely getting banned while you're trying to play Helldivers, and
then not being able to play any of your digital games for that matter if that happens.
Yeah, so it's kind of putting people between a rock and a hard place. And so, I mean, there's been so many developments already to this point that we're recording in. It's May 5th right now. Happy Cinco de Mayo from the past, but there is so now you can refund the game. People are reporting they can refund on Steam, even if they're past the 2-hour mark, which if you play Helldivers, you're probably past that.
Yeah, I saw screenshots of someone with 100+ hours playtime, just full refund. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, you literally can't play the game after, I think it's at the end of May. Yeah, that's the
something
deadline to link your PSN account, or you.
As of now, I would be shocked if Sony doesn't walk this back because it's such a major backlash. Was it in 2 days? It's had over 100,000 negative reviews on Steam.
They're at 216,000 now.
Negative reviews.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is overwhelmingly negative.
Wow. Yeah. What a fucking turnaround from probably the most surprising positive game of the year of just people just gelling with it and having a good time to just a colossal fuck up.
Yeah, you can just look at the graph on Steam. If you go to Steam and look up reviews, everything's nice. It's all blue, and then red is overtaking everything. I told you communism would come back in red.
That's true. It's
It's the Red Scare 3.
Yeah. I mean, because I remember there were a lot of negative reviews when it first launched because just the servers were so like overloaded.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, Austin, you're looking at the graph now. Is it worse now? Like, is it the most red over time?
Overwhelmingly so. Yes.
Overwhelmingly. Yeah.
I mean,
it's like the other bars are like little blips now compared to how big the bars are for that one.
Yeah, I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but like, it is probably the worst review bomb I've seen. Although
I think
to call it a review bomb is, I don't know.
I mean, it is.
Yeah,
it's more of a review 500 kilo.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Maybe a hell bomb even. Man, this is sad because I'm looking at some of the reviews. This guy said, "I'm from the Philippines. That should be enough." You know, thumbs down. Obviously, this guy has 115 hours, and soon he's not gonna be able to play this game that he's put a lot of time into.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because the Philippines is a big country. There's a lot of gamers there. I know it, and now he's just not gonna be able to play if they keep up with this this I don't know new thing that they're doing.
Yeah, which is that's what's so wild to me is like I didn't realize PSN isn't even in places like
that's what's crazy to me. That's the bigger story to me. Like it gets kind of unearthed on this. Like Sony, get your shit together. What the fuck?
Yeah,
it's not even. There's a ton of people that play games there. It's not just like, oh, it's a big country. Like, no, it's a very big active gaming scene, and has been for fucking ever.
Yeah,
Filipinos have been on there forever.
Yeah, and that it kind of conflicts with the idea of like, because wasn't it a couple years ago Sony was like, we're trying to go all in on live service. We've got 12 live service games in the works right now, and it's like, okay, but you've got like 12 countries in the world where you're active in. Like, maybe fix one of those.
Play has no limits. No. Shut up. Play has no limits.
No limits.
Oh God.
Yeah, so it feels real silly what they're doing right now, and I think from what I remember seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it's that at first, it was intended for Helldivers 2 to require a PlayStation account, right? But then I think the CEO of Arrowhead wanted to turn that off to kind of help with the servers or something along those lines.
Well, it was that the pairing process apparently didn't work. That functionality didn't work as they wanted it to, and so they could have either delayed it for X amount of time, or they could have just launched with the intention to make sure that gets implemented correctly. So the requirement for logging into a third party account has always been on the Steam page, on their Steam profile. But I think in one of the CEO's latest statements, he said that there definitely is a sizable amount on him and on the marketing that we didn't discuss this, or we didn't openly talk about and remind that hey, this isn't functioning right now, but that doesn't mean that this is never going to be the case.
Right.
But I mean, I could imagine people who aren't tuned into the PR statements paying attention when their friend says, hey, I'm playing this great game on Steam, pick it up, let's play, that they're not going to look at the third party and then do the deeper dive to figure out all of the background as to what it was intended to be.
Yeah. What's bringing up the CEO and other staff? What's one of the bigger surprising things to me is how vocal they have been about it, and also being yeah, this is fucking kind of dumb. And the community manager in their Discord being yeah, this we're with you guys. This isn't good. It's not a good look for him. He's don't do that.
Yeah.
But even the CEO saying kind of stuff yeah, we're talking with Sony, we're trying to figure, they're kind of actually saying yeah, we don't really want this either, which is kind of surprising to say. And I'm sure that since Helldivers 2 is such a success, they kind of have a little bit of weight behind them and be yeah, we can say this kind of stuff publicly to try to put a little pressure on them to make the decision we want. Because it's got to be pretty daunting to go up against the biggest console share company in the world and be yeah, I'm unhappy with you publicly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then
I'm sure that none of
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure that none of us will have the exact answer for this, but the whole idea of hitting them in their wallet. When you refund through Steam, is that then Steam pulling money from where? Are you just getting that? Are you just getting fake money credited to your account? Is that coming from the publisher or the developer? Is that just coming from Steam?
Well,
I can't imagine Valve's just be like, yeah, we'll eat all this money.
Yeah.
You can choose where that money goes. Like, it can go back to your original payment method if you did it via card, or you can do like Steam funds to your Steam wallet.
No, that is a
Right,
good
but then
question though. Of the refund money, who's getting? I'm sure it's got to
Yeah.
be whatever the split is for how it goes. That's how the split goes for the refund. I would imagine. That's the
same.
only way that makes sense to me.
Yeah, but then it's the question of, is Sony footing the bill right now, or are they gonna get a big invoice in the next week?
That's
or
what I'm
two
wondering if it's gonna be that.
Valve?
Like, here's what you owe us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because this is as bad as like
But I would
Cyberpunk
assume
almost.
that like this refund, it would be surprised if. Well, I guess no. As the whole the rights of probably the distributor of the keys and stuff, they can choose to do this refund thing if they want, even without Sony being in on it, and just tell them like, no, this is part of our deal, our terms of using our service. I don't know if any of this is true. This is me speculating, obviously, because I don't know what the deal is between them. But it's just it happened so quickly. It's like, is Sony really like on board with this? That'd be surprising.
Yeah,
I don't know. Interesting.
I think from business metrics though, if they can say, like, I can see at the moment, the 24-hour peak on Helldivers was 115,000. That if Sony's looking at that and saying like, man, what if we had 115,000 more people showing that they were active PlayStation account users, what metrics is that going to influence? And unfortunately, that's going to be a metric that only matters internally and to someone's bottom line. That's not going to be, something that will come back and will trickle down to have a positive effect on the game, on the players, on anything. That is a shareholders number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting to me about this too is that there's this there's kind of this cynicism that always comes with these kind of online movements of like, we'll boycott this and we'll show them, and then like the rest of the people who aren't perpetually online go and buy the thing anyway, and then it just doesn't matter and the shareholders get what they want, right? I feel like with Helldivers there is a really strong community aspect here, right? Where like these people have, I guess, been through the trenches. They've all coordinated through Reddit and Twitter and shit to like fight in Malevelon Creek. Like these people know how, they've already become a community. The community organized literally for the video game, and now they're doing it on behalf of the game, outside of the game, meta game, So if there's any chance for a community boycott to actually work,
this is probably the biggest chance. Yeah. I'd be curious what the refund numbers are, because I'm sure, like, I remember saying this way back because you brought up Cyberpunk. Like, they allow those refunds knowing not many people are going to do it. Like, in the grand scheme, the percentages, like, the math all works out to be like, they can look, here's a good PR looking soundbite headline, but we know not many people are going to do it. And I'd be curious with this one because of how engaged people are with it, and because of so many pretty active gaming community like countries being affected. Suddenly, I would be curious to see if that number does go up in terms of or in comparison to like a normal run of the mill kind of thing where someone would have refunds.
I know this isn't
Steam will never tell us, but
this isn't refunds. But when you guys mentioned Cyberpunk, I looked at the review graph, and it's Helldivers 2 is still beating it by far. Like, Cyberpunk had 63,000 negative reviews on launch or around that time, and like I said, we're like,
well, remember too that the VAT, like, for Cyberpunk's a little different in that it was the console versions that were just absolute fucking dog shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
PC had its own problems.
There were some problems on PC though,
but it was not near what like the PS4 and Xbox One were dealing with.
Nah, but if we're talking about like review bombs, then like,
this is still, like we said, in terms of numbers, it's got to be up. It's the worst I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it too is people are far more vocal when it comes to multiplayer games. I think with Cyberpunk, it was a big deal because it's CD Projekt Red. It's like the indie crown jewel of the games industry, right? Like people know Witcher 3 and stuff. But this,
and it was, I mean, it had 8 million pre-orders, like on PC alone. So
but with multiplayer games, there's just that once the community is there, they're engaged. But usually they're siloed off and kind of like, like Final Fantasy is like 28 million players, right? But if you don't play Final Fantasy 14 a lot, you probably don't run into too much of it.
Same like we know Call of Duty is always one of the biggest games of the year, but I'm not in the community, so I don't hear fucking anything about what's going on ever, hardly.
Yeah.
But I know there's a shit ton of people playing, like Fortnite too. I don't know if you guys heard Fortnite that I told you about a little while ago.
That's right.
But a lot of people play that apparently and talk about it.
Interesting.
I know.
Looking into it.
Yeah. Report back next week. Let us know what you find in the world of Fortnite.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This Helldivers 2 thing is just nuts. I haven't seen anything like this.
Well, it's not just like how much negativity. It's from like the peak that they fell from to the fucking how far they fell after that. That's what's so crazy. Like such a reversal.
Yeah.
I guess for me as well, because I didn't even really know that Helldivers 2 was a thing until it became a massive thing. Like I remember seeing the first Helldivers and being like,
that's how most people were, to be honest.
Yeah. So for it to have like come, I don't think that anyone, in 2023, you would have said, Helldivers 2, it's gonna be fucking huge. And people go, what are you talking about?
It was one of those like throwaway ones at the showcase. They're like, who gives a fuck? Like kind of was the general reaction, like, who cares?
Now it's like the most popular thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the popularity took even the developers by surprise, though.
Oh, sure.
I mean, the servers were borked for a good reason, honestly.
You can hope for a success, and this was just not just a success. It took over the gaming community at large as like just in general attention span for quite a while. And then kept a pretty good core people that are way into it.
Yeah, like it's definitely taken over my gaming time because like I thought I would be done with Final Fantasy Rebirth by now, but I haven't finished it because I've been playing more like Helldivers. Like it's so much fun to just hop on, and I think Helldivers has that magic of like, yes, it's a buggy game, and every update they fix some things and it breaks some more things, right? And there's just like if this were a single player game, there would be just enough where I'm like, I'll wait, right? But it has that magic, right? Where even though it's buggy, even though you're going to complain about this, that, and whatever, it's still fucking fun to liberate planets and to kill bugs and bots and do all of these things, right? It just has that pull that I can see why it's mobilizing so many people to speak out so much about this game.
Yeah.
I
mean, again, there are thousands and thousands of people that are just not going to be able to play it.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid. And like I said, still like the bear in the lead is like, PSN is not in this many places. That fucking is stupid.
Yeah.
I wonder what the comparison is with Xbox stuff. And I know it's not going to be a totally fair comparison because Microsoft, in terms of a company, is just so much fucking bigger than Sony. Sony's a fucking ant compared to them. That they're obviously going to have a much bigger footprint in the world for just data servers and who they provide stuff to.
Like Azure
everybody's
alone.
got and well just for providing an OS, like there's anywhere in the world they're not going to be like, let's get a Mac. No, they're going to be running Windows somewhere.
So Xbox.com/regions does have a filter list.
Yeah.
So
I'd be curious. The list has got to be very small.
Yeah.
In comparison, I would guess, just because of what Microsoft as a company is.
I pulled up Egypt.
Yep.
And Xbox games are available, PC games are available, PC Game Pass is available, the Xbox apps are available, but the Xbox One and Series systems say that they're not available.
That's just hardware.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in Egypt and you want an Xbox and you have the economical means to do so, you could probably get one.
Yeah.
And they have the services, so
it's just
I just found out Christmas Island doesn't have have PSN.
Oh no!
Oh man,
Santa can't play.
he can't play.
Also, the Pope can't.
Yeah, the
Pope
can't
is
Yeah.
not part of PSN. What's he supposed to do in his downtime?
All those priests aren't going to be able to play games anymore.
Oh no.
Oh, idle hands. You know what they say.
Mm.
Yeah, we went there.
What?
What?
The Catholic priests? The Catholic Church?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're getting at.
Yeah. I don't know. It's such a shame that this feels like it's very much driven by corporate greed, right? It's like what it's bigger, better numbers for
Yeah.
the shareholders, and I would be curious if this would be a way Sony's trying to inch in on, like, because you can buy the battle pass, right, for every couple weeks that Helldivers 2 drops one, and I imagine right now on PC, Steam gets what X%, 30% of that, $10, but with Sony trying to put their PSN on there, I wonder if they're trying to be like, hey, give us a cut of that battle pass transaction.
They just went about it in the wrong way. Like, I get that, like, oh, we want to get people in our ecosystem and whatever, but like, it really should have just been an option. Like, hey, get this and you'll get this fucking cosmetic, this PSN cosmetic or whatever dumb thing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
that's
sign up
like
with your PSN account. You can get a skin that makes you look like Aloy.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah, some Sony or PlayStation IP, but
It
this
actually
is such a dumb way to do it.
That reminds me that Blizzard Entertainment did do that at one point. At one point, BattleNet wasn't required, and they really eased all WoW players and others into
the
it.
launcher.
They gave you like I remember when the Mountain Dew promo was going on. They would give you like the two battle bots.
That's right.
And
they could fight each other.
Or I think that was one of them. Or maybe there was a penguin pet that you could get in WoW as well. And like if you get the authenticator, you get like a corehound pet.
That's right.
But they incentivized players and they eased you into it over, I think, probably several years before they actually made it mandatory. Which,
yeah, so that's a way to do it correctly. Yeah, Sony just fucking shot. Sony's done this forever though. Like, whenever I bring up Sony stuff, like I always bring up the Betamax versus VHS. So they own Betamax, and like by all accounts, by technology wise, Betamax was like far superior to VHS in a bunch of different ways. I can't remember all of them, but Sony's like, nope, only ours. And everybody's like, well, I guess we'll use the other one. And guess which one everybody knows about?
Yeah,
VHS.
Yeah. And so it's just shit like that where they've shot themselves in the foot. They have this mentality like, well, they had their own fucking memory sticks for everything. They had to buy those stupid things for the PSP. And like, why not just use an SD card?
Pro memory card?
Yeah. Like all kinds of, they're always doing shit like this. It's like, fucking stop. Like they're very an Apple mentality without having like established themselves well enough to really. I almost said deserve, because Apple doesn't fucking deserve it either. But they haven't established themselves enough to where they can get away with it.
I mean, yeah, at least Apple is like, if you want to buy into the Apple ecosystem, it all does work. Like if you have an iPhone, Mac,
it's gonna do what you want it to do.
Yeah, you're good. But with PlayStation, you can't really opt in much to the ecosystem outside of buying a PS5 or 4.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just so ironic with how much Sony has been kind of easing into the opposite of exclusivity, right? Like they've been putting Horizon games on PC. Well, the first Horizon on PC, they're putting out Ghost of Tsushima soon.
Yeah,
on PC, right?
Like within
this month, isn't it? A statement was made that you don't need the PSN account for that.
Well, it's a single player game, so you freaking better.
Well, Tsushima does have a multiplayer.
Yeah, well, it does.
But you would still hope, like, you don't want a PSN account. But now I could imagine maybe some people who like PC players who are interested in it now maybe double, you might think, guessing
what
it.
Are they
right?
gonna do?
Yeah. It comes out next week, actually.
Although now's the perfect time once they get slapped fucking hard. You're like, oh, they're not gonna try to pull anything for a little while.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Now's the perfect time. Like, we're probably safe.
Yeah, but
so I'm looking at Ghost of Tsushima, and it says you can link your Steam account to your PlayStation account and get some rewards. So
exactly what they should have done here.
That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
And this makes me think, I know like Destiny 2 isn't as big as it once was, but that's a game that's like on everything, right? You can play it on Xbox, you can play it on PC.
Yeah.
But do you need a PSN account?
No, I think
on
you need
PC.
a Battle.net probably. No, but that's not.
I think. Do you just need like a Bungie account?
They're
I
not
don't
on
know.
Battle.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't play Destiny.
It's been so long since I played Destiny, but now it just makes me think, like, if Sony really wants to go in on these live service games, are they going to keep requiring a PSN account for future ones?
I would hope that they're going to learn from this and say no, because it doesn't work that way. It's stupid.
Alienating a huge part of their audience.
Or if they do this, I think the lesson they would want to learn, instead of the one you just said, is make sure you can implement it at launch instead of turning it off for 3 months and then forcing.
Because if this was there at the beginning, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right, but there'd also be many people who wouldn't have played Helldivers.
There'd be quite a few people that seemingly couldn't play it. Yeah, which is interesting. I would love to know. Yeah,
I would love to see. Yeah, the percentage per region of that.
Yeah,
of like,
I'd be curious
if you took all of the people who had purchased and were actively playing Helldivers, if you cross-referenced it with that list of 175 regions, what percentage of the player base is that? Because I bet that Sony also has that number.
They know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you it's not very big. Like, as much as we're like, it does suck for like a lot of people. But like a small percentage of hundreds of thousands is still a lot of people.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of them, it's a risk reward. Like, if we're putting all this money in, we don't really get our investment back. They've already made the value judgment on why they're not in those countries, and so they have the metrics we're talking about. So I don't know.
I mean, talking money, like with its monetization, you've got your purchase to get the game, and then you've got your battle passes after that. But it seems like removing the chance to purchase the game, there must be some crazy wild numbers going on in the background where you think that the more positive thing to do, like, also, why was this game being sold in regions that wouldn't be supported with the PSN? There definitely should have also been discussion and understanding around that.
Yeah.
But to just flat out say to people, hey, we don't want your money, versus we want you to be actively logged into our account. I guess looking at converted sales, if you open up Helldivers next week and it says, hey, you should check out Ghost of Tsushima for PC, is that more monetarily beneficial to have them in the ecosystem versus giving more people a chance to buy and play the fucking game?
Yeah. Overall, this just feels like a real kind of a loss for Sony. A pretty big L.
Big fucking L.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna take a lot of people to drag this back to their fucking offices. So stupid.
Yeah.
It's fucking with a good thing for them too. They're getting into Steam, and like Steam's in all these countries, obviously. Oh, not obviously. I guess that's not true. Steam's in a lot of these countries.
Yes.
Already, and so they're getting that access for essentially free to these customers. Not free. I mean, they're paying the Steam, whatever they give them a cut.
They don't need to dedicate resources to reinvent this wheel.
No, and they could advertise their games without a PSN account. They could put them in their game. They'd be like, hey, this is coming out. Yeah. They don't need PSN for that. It could just be a fucking splash screen that comes up when you log in, and then you're done, or whatever. Yeah. However they want to do it. They don't have to be a PSN account to have that shit show up. So it just seems like a real short-sighted. But although the way that we're kind of talking about it is that, like, Sony's like, you better fucking put this in there. But if it's like this has just been in the works and it's just like, oh, we're just finally getting around to it, it might not be Sony being like, oh, we need to cash in on this and get people in. Just be like, it might just be a part of the process thing that is being taken maliciously when it isn't really. Yeah. And they're just really getting caught up and like getting fucked over. It's just something. Yeah, it's really dumb. And they're getting raked over the coals for it when there might not be like this malicious idea behind it, which would suck. But
I mean, you have to like see what this looks like to the consumer, right?
They could have said something already too.
Yeah. Yeah. By the time you're listening to this, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they could have said something the day of.
Oh yeah,
that's true. That day, they're big enough.
Probably would have been best if they did that.
So it kind of sucks for them that this narrative is being created, rightly or wrongly. Because even if it is true, like they'd want to counter that narrative, right? Like, oh fuck, that's not true, and then start playing the battle that way, but they're not even doing that.
I mean, I guess you said this at the pre-show, Andrew, but like this is happening over the weekend, right? And now that I'm thinking about this does feel like a very sent this email at 4:55 p.m. on a Friday. It has that energy, right? Like, let's drop the bad news at the end of the week and we'll deal with it on Monday.
Yes, that's what makes it even look a little worse because that's the classic move.
Yeah,
of late on Friday news. But
it's just unfortunately gamers never take a break. Malevelon Creek doesn't go on weekends.
That's right.
You got Tabaton's march and wait for no one.
So we don't empty the trenches whenever we feel.
Yeah,
there's always got to be a man there.
That's true.
They targeted gamers.
I don't know. It's just so sad to see. It's just it's corporate greed. It's monthly active users being like that statistic being prioritized over anything else. Because you would think like as a Sony exec, like what's more important? Saying like, oh, this fraction now, because like people are refunding the game. There's less Helldivers out there. So like less people are now monthly active users on PSN, or just saying, hey, we also have this game that's on Steam. It's got like almost 1 billion players because it's just good. And it went gangbusters and viral.
Yeah.
Right. But
it'll be interesting to see to continue to watch the Steam charts, because I mean there's been more than enough times that we have heard protests and refunds and boycotts of games for valid reasons or invalid reasons. It'll be interesting to see once we give this, we're now on like day 1.5 of this. Once we get to 3, 5, 7 days, when we come back together and have another conversation next week, to go from its, and there will also be a whole bunch of confirmation bias in there as well, just in lieu of it being a game that released in February. Like there has already been declining player numbers.
Yeah, I mean that's just
natural. Yeah,
that's natural. So on Friday it was 120K. On Saturday the 20th of April it was 198. The Saturday the 13th it was 253,000. So it's like
April 13th.
Still a lot.
Or
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still a shit ton of people, but it'll be interesting to see how rapidly that number tanks and what it looks like deviated from the already, just in lieu of being a game that released decline.
Of course, we don't know how many people are playing on PS5 where this issue is not.
Yeah, it's irrelevant to them, really.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah,
because I'm sure there are people that own PS5s in these regions that aren't,
Well,
how would they play it?
Yeah,
there's means.
Maybe, but also like they might play with friends who are in regions. So I guess there's some ways in which that it could affect them, but
yeah, well, that's the thing with a game like this, with a community this tightly knit, even if it doesn't directly affect you, there's just enough of a social aspect there where there's an overall morale that you feel, like everyone's noticing it. And I'm sure there's still a pretty sizable group out there that's just not as online and play on PS5 and probably don't even notice or care about any of this. And that's also totally fine. But once you've seen any of this bit online, it's like you will know it and you will understand that this is not a great moment right now for Helldivers. Yeah.
Democracy is being tested, boys.
Truly.
We gotta see, will it survive?
I did look on Metacritic to see if people were getting on that, and there are some review bombs, but it's still at 7.5 user score.
Yeah.
So I guess Steam is the one that's getting the most traction. But usually Metacritic is like one you go to if you want to see review bombs, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess Steam is like
as it comes into release. I think we see more on Metacritic.
Yeah. And with Steam too, that's the direct, like you're playing it because of Steam. Like it's right there. Yeah. Easiest way to make your voice heard.
I don't know. But yeah, what do we think is gonna happen between now and then this comes up? What do you think Sony's gonna do?
They're gonna walk it back, right? They have to.
You think so?
I'd be surprised if they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like they said, put out a statement of this was not the intention was not this.
Yeah.
It was just a feature that was intended to come, kind of like what the CEO was saying. Like this was always the intention. We just kind of fumbled it.
So you're saying they're going to double down on it?
I think they'll be like, well, but we've heard you, and we're going to get rid of it. We're not going to require it. You can link it if you want, but we're not going to require it.
See, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking they might still stick with it because I feel like there's just something about them saying, "Hey, this was the intention all along."
Yeah,
and like because it was written
Maybe.
in their marketing and their contract or whatever at the beginning, right? Like, I think they would want to stick with it.
Maybe.
I think that they will find some level of compromise that they can for the game in where it's not supported, and I think that might be why it's been taken off Steam. They're like making some changes on the back end to create like a international version of the game or something.
Helldivers International.
But
maybe.
I don't think that they're going to walk it back for. I think it's stupid that they're not going to, but I don't see them walking it back.
Yeah, same. I think they're still going to be pretty ironclad because they want that money. They want those statistics.
Maybe. I don't know.
They
We'll
care
see.
about the shareholders more than they do about the gamer. And I don't say that as like a jaded gamer. I say that as all of these companies are companies. They want what's in your wallet, and they don't.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree with you, but that's the same reason why I would say that they're going to walk it back. That the PR risk is higher of it being a negative thing, and it not only just affecting this game, but bleed over into other things they might have. Or do they want this to be brought up all the time?
Ghost of Tsushima's launch coming up, they could just like people are gonna,
Yeah, but we've seen the like sales numbers for some of these Steam things. Like they don't actually sell it crazily well.
Yeah,
like it's a nice sell.
I mean, if they're releasing on PC, it must be worth it for them.
Maybe. Obviously, yeah, for whatever they put into it, because they've continued to do it. But
I think a lot of that is also, aside from like tweaking for different hardware specs and making sure that there's like a keyboard and mouse interface and UI. It's not like, back in the day where you would have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and the PlayStation 1 version is entirely different from the PlayStation 2 version, from the PC version, from the N64 version, from the GameCube version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just like, you guys have legitimately made 5 entirely different games. I think it's easier now with modern tools, and that PS5s and Xboxes and whatever are just really powerful computers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm sure that they've created some kind of workflow that's obviously going to be different for each game, but some understanding of how to port a game to PC relatively easily. Now they've kind of got a way to do it that they know, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially since it's not the PS3 cell architecture anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I am a little bit on the fence now with thinking about what will happen, because I guess you are right, Andrew, that like that this PR risk is pretty big.
Thank you.
Yes. Because when I think back on the way they've been communicating about this, right? Like, I mean, with the way Helldivers 2 people communicate in general, it's always very tongue-in-cheek, and it's like in universe, and they're very like, Helldivers, we must do this and that, right? Like, even if they're talking about bugs and stuff, they're very like in universe lingo. But this is very straight up like, yeah, bro, this sucks. Sony is like,
that's the thing that makes me think that you're going to walk back because of how vocal the company, like CEO, has also been. Like, he hasn't just straight up said like, yeah, this is fucking stupid and we didn't ever want to do this kind of thing. But there's been enough like kind of little chatter around. It's like, they don't seem to be in favor of this either.
Yeah, well, it's just it's very peek behind the curtain, right? Like,
So it's seemingly, obviously, I do not know because I don't know what kind of conversations they're having personally. But the way that they're talking about it makes it seem as though they're saying like, we should not do this. And so maybe that will help. That will influence that decision too. But
I guess we'll see. Or by the time you're listening, you probably
will know
already seen.
Probably tomorrow at this rate.
Yeah, tomorrow's Monday, so I'm guessing there'll be something.
Has Sony proper said anything about any of this yet? I think all I've seen is that's also very weird to me.
That's what I'm saying. It's so weird that like not like let's say that it was they did have bad intentions or whatever. They were trying to like it's popular now. Let's swoop in and do something. Even if that is true, like wouldn't they be like, oh, let's not make it look like that anyway. Let's try to put something out and muddy the waters at least, and not even doing that, which is strange. They're so I wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's a weird situation.
I feel bad for all of the team that probably knew that this was going to go out a week ago, and it's just like we're gonna hit that send update button,
bad.
And it's gonna explode. Staring down the face.
Well, that's gotta suck. Be like, man, we made a game that went so much more successful than we ever would have dreamed. This is awesome. Oh, great! Now we got this fucking bullshit. We're for no good reason to deal with this.
It's tanking for the dumbest reason.
Yeah, because it's not like they had some game breaking, crazy, stupid thing that people can't play it or something. Where it's like, all right, that's kind of on you guys for fucking it up. But this is just stupidity.
And they've been so active within the community to address all the bugs and fixing it in good time, and now this is just like all that hard work almost seems like it's for nothing when they're it's such an insane self-sabotage.
I think no matter how this goes, I think that one thing that has been excellent about Helldivers is how they've shown a new way. They've completely shifted the paradigm on what a successful live service game can look like in their in-universe marketing, their way that they've got someone masterminding the direction of what's going on. You know, so much you'll have votes by committee and it will water down an entire project. I really hope no matter what happens, like in this direct moment, that other upcoming live service games are looking at the way that they've done the quality content side of it.
Hell yeah.
So that we can get away from games as a service as it currently is, because it sucks.
Yeah, I think that there has been some nice, at least I follow a lot of devs and stuff on Twitter and elsewhere. There has been some chatter about that, but also another thing they bring up a lot is Baldur's Gate. And like they put out a little tweet thread about like what they did and like what they learned about how to interact with the community. And it's all smart stuff. Because I mean, if you remember, obviously Baldur's Gate is blew up just because it's a great game.
Yeah.
But there still is so much community driven stuff about that everybody's kind of in on the in jokes and whatever, and that was driven by big part by Larian's PR people, and like they're always commenting on stuff or throwing little memes out there, doing all kinds of things. Not like in an in-universe way necessarily as like Helldivers, but like we're all in on these in jokes together kind of way. So it's creating a community where we all have a shared understanding of certain things. That's super smart. Where other ones are you're just throwing information at you or whatever, or random jokes where they're definitely trying to create something. And I think those two are really good examples of doing it. And I would imagine we're going to see more of that later. And it makes the game stuff funner. It creates a community much quicker for people. Yeah. That I'm sure we'll see more. We're going to also see that done in a bad way. We're all going to be like, man, why can't brands just be brands? A year from now, we're like, this fucking stupid. I don't need Wendy's making these fucking jokes on Twitter. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's like lightning in a bottle, right? I think Helldivers 2 caught it.
Yeah,
but then other people are going to try to mimic it, and that's usually
we'll see a bunch of poor imitations for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and talking about like company interaction or company interference. I don't think that we've talked about it on the podcast yet, but we also know that like there's not going to be any Baldur's Gate 3 DLC or expansions, and Larian has no plans to work on another Dungeons and Dragons game. Obviously they will be able to, continue to make in-depth RPGs, as they have done in the past as well. But then you're also seeing news stories that, Wizards of the Coast is looking to invest $1 billion into working with and building up a dev to make the next Baldur's Gate, and it again seems very like you saw dollar signs and you thought, oh, I can totally do this, and we can do this in-house, so we make more money, and it will be cheaper, and it will be better, and whatever Baldur's Gate 4 is going to be, Waterdeep 1, it's gonna be such a shit show because it's gonna be consistently compared to Baldur's Gate 3.
Well, it's compared, and people are taking the wrong lessons from Baldur's Gate 3. We're like, this is a bespoke studio that's kind of cut their teeth on learning how to do these games well, and it's been the relatively same core team for many years and several games now, all learning iteratively on one another, not a team cobbled together. Not to say the team that comes together can't make something good, but there's a lot of reason that something like that came together well.
Yeah. I mean, like, they've basically been making Baldur's Gate without making Baldur's Gate for years,
for like a decade.
Until they made Baldur's Gate 3. Like Divinity 1 and 2, I love those games. They're just D&D. They're alternate D&D, slightly different rule system, but same idea.
It seems like Wizards is like trying to throw money at it just to, get to work, but like money can't buy experience. I don't think. Like, you can maybe hire some experienced devs, but like it's just not the same as like buying another Larian, because Larian is pretty much irreplaceable.
Yeah. Well, it's just there's been a lot more like people talking about that kind of stuff. Like you mentioned Rebirth earlier, like they made a big deal, like they kept the same team. There's a reason that it only took a few years for between releases, because they have a workflow that works and understanding and et cetera for all these reasons. Instead of killing the team off and then rebuilding a team after every game. And we're starting to see that sentiment brought up more and more. So hopefully it becomes a thing, because there's such a thing as institutional knowledge that evaporates when people leave. And just certain workflows that have been established and understanding of like, oh, I know this guy does this real well, I'm gonna go talk to this guy, or like we're gonna send it over to him, or whatever. You just a knowledge of how people operate, it can't be understated. It's one of those intangibles that doesn't show up somewhere, but hopefully we see more of it.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
I don't want to put words in Larian's mouth, but isn't working with Wizards a bit of a pain in the ass? From what I've heard. I mean, we've seen them act like a bit of a pain in the ass at times, so I'm not too
definitely
surprised.
They have continued to make weirder and weirder business choices. Not weird, less consumer angled choices. Releasing more and more Magic the Gathering sets and increasing the production flow, doing the same with D&D.
So much Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it's like
what's crazy about the D&D thing is that they've stumbled, they got lucky. It's pretty much nothing that they did that has led to their success. And then they're going to be like, oh, yes, let's use all this goodwill in a shitty way. Or
Didn't
whatever.
they lay off most of the people that on the Wizard side of things that helped with Baldur's Gate? Because they had layoffs recently. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'd have to double check, but
yeah. But no, it's just it's crazy to see. It's insane to continually look around and see so many anti-consumer choices going on. But it's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Particularly when we seem to be getting a consumer base that's a little more educated and a little more sensitive now, more than they have been in the past, probably. So it's gonna be. I think we're gonna see these clashes come up more frequently, just because people are more vocal. Be like, hey, no, this is fucking bullshit. Where we do know we're getting manipulated here or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's gonna be a slow growing pains process for these companies. Like, all right, we got to get a little more clever, or maybe just do the right thing. That'd be nice. Not holding my fucking breath, but
just do right by the consumer a little.
Hey, that'd be kind of just do a little bit here and there. Nah, we'll just have fucking Apple do the biggest buyback ever of like $150 billion or some shit. And anyway.
Anywho, yeah, I do think it was funny. whoever brought up earlier that's like, this is a fan base that you have trained to be coordinated with one another and to like put out missions, seek and destroy. That it, you know, hopefully, because so many times we've seen like the boycotts and they've failed. They, not to say that they haven't had impact, but it's not like they've been able to like do the thing. But if this is something that is able to get like major pushback, that's gonna, for better or worse, teach the gamers that if they actually band together, they can make a fucking difference.
Oh shit!
Now,
we're unionizing the gamers.
How they choose to abuse that in certain cases. We've seen just as many rightful review bombs as we have really fucking stupid review bombs.
Yeah, if there's anything gamers love more, if there's anything they love, it's fucking finding an exploit and running it to the ground.
Yeah.
So who knows?
So you can scream the
Oh
loudest.
god, we've given, this is like giving the AI some self-learning here. That's dangerous.
Oh no.
We're giving the gamers too much knowledge.
Oh no.
Oh, we don't know what world we're in now.
But I think with that, you know, kind of, it'll be interesting to see. So we've said, you know, kind of how we expect this to roll back, what the turnaround will be. But I think that will likely be it for us this week on the TechRaptor podcast. So if you're interested in checking out more on the current situation, if you finish this podcast and you want an update, you can probably head over to techraptor.net and we'll have a story on it. We can also
Whatever's
check
going
out
on.
all kinds of
you can see how
reviews.
wrong we all are.
Like, what's that? Sony doubles down. They remove it in more regions.
They actually spin off an Arrowhead fucking account system and they get rid of the PSN.
Oh God. You can check out more news, reviews in tabletop and gaming at techraptor.net. You can sign up for our newsletter. That's very cool. And aside from that, you can you can check back next week where we'll have another episode of the podcast.
Oh yeah.